This is the Modern Craftsman podcast with
Tyler Grace from TRG Home Concepts.
Nick Schiffer with NS Builders.
Johnny Horahan from Vintage Builders.
Jeremy Cottingham with Cottingham Limited.
Attaboy.
We are at the Higher Elements booth by Hastings, set up at JLC 2018.
We just got educated on what this booth is.
Which is pretty cool, and to my surprise, it's been around for 11, 12 years, right?
I think to all of our surprise.
To all of our surprise. So they are a recruiting brand for Hastings that helps placement for jobs at Hastings in different parts of that industry, and working with architectural and construction management students. And I kind of described it as the gray area. Rather than being a PM or an architect, there's a ton of different positions between that need filling.
Correct.
Yeah, even if you're trying to get a stepping stone to the job that you want, get your foot in the door, get set up with a lot of architects, quality builders, contractors, and then move ahead from there.
I love it. And it's in-house, so it's not like it's a third party.
That's when you've officially made it. When
you have your own
internal
recruiting.
Yes.
And
I guess I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of.
All
it's
your
just me.
in-house.
You've made it. So this is their first time at JLC, and they picked a prime location right off the escalator here.
High traffic.
So everyone walking by can stop, see the ball pit.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, man.
Wonder why there's two mustaches
why-
at this table.
Why is Jeremy at the table?
I don't know.
Come on. Dude, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Jersey, Central Jersey. Well, Central South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
Nice.
So I grew up out in Lancaster, PA, and family transplanted to the armpit of America when I was a kid.
So we kind of just sprung this on Jeremy that he was going to be podcasting with us rather than it just be us three.
Because he's an awesome
super
kid.
last minute, so
I
we
didn't
have to
do any
give
of my
him,
vocal exercises.
give him
or
some
anything.
praise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody get him some warm tea with honey. No, but I met Jeremy last year actually at an Integrity event where it was, I guess, social media marketing, branding yourself, and he's very local to me, and kind of met through this and just hit it off, and very much the same mindset as to how we approach life, business, everything else. So I think that's where he's come into the mix and has the same mindset as a lot of us younger guys who are just trying to get up and running and put their best foot forward, brand themselves well, market themselves well, and actually execute well as well.
That's
a lot of
it's
wells.
tough to do.
It's a lot of well.
It's a lot of wells.
Yeah.
You started in a different side of this industry, or more general, and then kind of found your niche and have been since perfecting it.
Yeah. So I got into construction when I was pretty young. My folks built the house that they live in now, and I was 15 years old. Started knocking tin, started doing a bunch of stuff there, and I got a job doing HVAC. Did that for a few years. Did framing, did flips, did a bunch of different stuff. Was in a lot of different markets, and finally decided I want to go out on my own, and really wanted to, with doing the flip game, it's always based on the dollar you can sell it for. So you're always contingent upon sale of the house. So you're always not cutting corners, but there's stuff that you would want to address that you can't address. You just can't put money towards it, or else you're
throwing money away.
Money away.
Yeah.
So, really wanted to start doing stuff where I could take pride in it. I could craft stuff better. So I started a GC company, started doing GC work. And I really had kind of a really clear idea of the clientele I wanted to work with, the jobs I wanted to do. And so I initially just started doing, kitchens and baths, renovations like that. I did a couple additions, did some, insurance work as far as some real nice remediation jobs and stuff like that, and started growing out that way, but just found myself more and more gravitating towards doing the custom millwork, building custom cabinetry, and so we just started branching that way more and more.
That was over the course of a couple years?
Yeah, it was probably about
a couple weeks.
Yeah. That's about 2.5 weeks.
Really didn't like it at this one job.
2.5 weeks. Yeah. No, it's probably about 3 years. About 3 years. Just kind of getting my feet under me.
That's still pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, not to seem so loud right now. Just don't think about it.
You're sitting on a stool taller than all of us.
It must, sound travels up. It's like heat rises.
It's pretty hot down here.
It is. You're in the sun.
So, Jeremy, like a lot of us, started a GC company and just like hit the ground running. And it was just take jobs, and then put more people on the jobs. Very similar to what you did the past year, without implementing proper systems and not being built to handle that workload. So it was just like the work was coming. Don't turn down the work. Correct me if I'm speaking completely wrong for you. And just like, I'm just going to put bodies on this work, and it's money. You know, I'm not going to throw money. And then it got to the point where he was able to step back for long enough to realize, like, nothing's getting completed, nothing's getting done the way I want it, we're not making money, like what the heck am I doing? I need to either refine this process, get into something else. Like, this isn't sustainable what I'm doing right now, which I think so many guys do. It's like, take jobs, don't turn down jobs, whatever, get as many, just put bodies on it, figure it out later. And he was able to kind of catch that before it snowballed to something that was uncontrollable.
Snowballed pretty bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't 5-10 years, like.
But take us to that point where you realize it.
Well, so probably about 2016, we just, just coming into it.
So you're just racing.
Yeah, coming into it green and just being like, you got in your mind where you want to go. So you have a vision for what you want to do.
What did you want?
Well, I wanted to do high-end work. I wanted to do high-quality work. I wanted to do stuff that, I could put in a real hard day's worth of work, but then I can step back and be proud of it, be proud of what I did, be proud of what I made, have happy customers, and obviously pay all my bills, be able to provide for my family, be able to, give my kids good opportunities. So, it's kind of like broad stroke stuff, but really, as I went through the process, we just continued to get more jobs, and I really had to start to learn, like, when your no's are more important than your yeses.
How were those jobs coming in? How were you? Like, a lot of guys struggle with getting that stuff to come in, so they take whatever they get. But you were getting, where was all that work? Word of mouth?
It was all word of mouth. I mean, I think too, right out the gate, I think a lot of guys' problems too is like their pricing structures. They lend themselves to, a lot of people are really happy with the numbers when you don't know how to put numbers together.
I was one of those guys, man.
Yeah. And so,
I'm fearful that I still am one of those guys.
I'm always there.
Right?
I'm always there.
I don't think that fear ever goes away.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't know. I've never met someone that said, no, I'm 100% confident in everything I do, and especially on the number side. It's always, I think there's always room for refinement, and there's always room for improvement, whether it's charging more or being more efficient with your time.
Yeah.
You know what I would struggle with is that I feel like we charge a good amount of money, but then I look around and I always see other builds. Like, I'm always keeping track, racing other guys. Not racing, but when another foundation goes in the ground, I keep track of that. And then I'm like, all right, and we'll blow them out of the water. And it's like, they have to be charging the same amount or less than me, so should I be charging more because I know that they can't execute at the same efficiencies as I can?
Right.
You get me? That's where from the 1,000-foot view, just driving around going, dude, I should be charging more because they can't do it.
Yeah, but then the rate that you build is insane to me. Like, I watch it and I'm just always impressed, but that it's communicating that to the client.
But yeah, how do you show value?
It's like, yeah, we can do the same foundation. I'll do it. I'll build the house and I'll have it done in under a year. He'll be 15, 16 months. Yeah. And it's figuring out the market and selling that value. But
I'd be like 4 years, 5.
But it would be crisp, so crisp and clean that
it's like I'm touching up the paint, meaning I'm painting the whole house again.
Yeah.
So Jeremy is basically on this path where he's just getting jobs, and they're coming to him, and he doesn't have a pricing structure or a dynamic or structure within his company to execute at that level.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at what other numbers were, and a lot of what I did was I was trying to, kind of reverse engineer.
Yeah, back into it?
Yeah, so I was looking at what all my expenses were, my overhead and everything, and saying, okay, well, I want to make roughly X amount on this job, and trying to really, because I hired guys within the first 3 months.
Wow.
Because when I was 18, I had a company for probably about 6 months. And I just did like handyman stuff, and I knew I didn't want to do that again.
Right.
I wanted to be able to take on projects that were larger than what I could do on my own. And so, right off the bat, I was trying to work out pricing structures as far as like what I could charge or should be charging hourly, and a lot of that is just for me, it was looking at my overhead, looking at what my expenses were as far as my guys were concerned, and then just saying, okay, well, I want to make this. I think this is a fair number.
So what was the calculation that you made to be able to hire somebody? Were you doing the math based on the volume of work?
It was probably, I have too much work than I can handle.
There was too many people screaming?
It was kind of all of that. I mean, I knew going into it that I wanted to hire people.
Okay.
So again, because of that, the past experience, I knew that like if I wanted to grow the company, what I envisioned it, I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So I always tend to maybe err on the side of being more aggressive than I should be, which
I like that.
Can be
I'm
problematic.
I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
It's kind of my speed.
Yeah. So kind of like that fail fast, kind of like, you just learn from the mistake and you keep on growing and learning. Yeah. So
in your pricing, so you hired people right off the bat. Were they involved? Like, would you sit down and be like, hey, how long do you think it's going to take you to do this job? Or how long do you think it'd take you to build this cabin? Like, were they involved in that pricing process?
Not initially.
But you got there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now I'll literally, if we get a job in that we're bidding out with someone that we have a good relationship with, like I'll sit down with my lead guys and I'll be like, hey, like this is what I'm thinking. This is how long I think it's going to be. And sometimes, most of the time, I'm right there.
Yeah.
But some of the times they're like,
But to hear it, I mean,
yeah.
like
to involve them.
Like especially my millwork side, I think I know how long it would take me to build, but I'd rather sit down with Ken and say, listen, this is the project. What do you think?
Yeah.
And hear his train of thought and how he breaks it down, and then I go into it with more confidence.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, all right, I sold this, we have to build it in a week. And he's like, did you take into account for this and that? And
But the fact that you involve them, that's why I said it before, is that now they're also accountable for it. So that way, it's not like, oh, Nick did it to me again.
Yeah.
It's more like, hey, we're all in this together.
There's a goal.
Yes, there's a common thread there.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I mean, you continue to need to create a culture, so that's culture and environment's huge for me. I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, hey, I got to work here too. Like, it's got to be good for us, for everybody. Mm-hmm. So, creating an environment where everybody has a voice at the table. I tell my guys that are lowest on the totem pole, like, hey, like I don't like. In a way, like I work for you. Like I'm getting jobs for you. I'm keeping you busy. Right. I said my opinion isn't any more important than your opinion. I might have better insights or viewpoints on it because of my experience, but like, if you see something, you need to bring it up. You need to, we need to talk about it. So I think really empowering your team to just take initiative and take personal responsibility for the projects is huge.
I think that goes flip side, that I think you as an owner giving them a voice or an ear per se.
Yeah.
I was with a company that it was at Perry, FH Perry. I did an interview process with them, and it took a month. And one of the things that they did is they sat down at a round table and discussed the company's views for the next 3 years. And then I talked to one of the owners afterwards, and he goes, we give everyone the ability to voice their opinion. Doesn't mean we're going to use it, but we're going to let everyone speak. And they love that approach, because why would you take that away from them?
Yep.
Like a lot of companies will just go, hey, we're doing this, we're going this direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you're being informed. You're not part of it, so you're not building that culture.
Yeah.
And I never worked for them, but I totally took that away.
Yeah.
And was like, that's so perfect, and that's such a right state of mind that it's just wrong not to do it any other way.
Yeah.
So you got to be, your hands were too full. And you couldn't really handle the amount of work and everything. It just wasn't going in the direction you anticipated. So what was your next move?
Yeah, so we ended up, I guess early 2016, we had, I think 15 or 16 people on payroll.
Wow.
Which was Like, it just snowballed so fast. We hired like a project manager, and like, you know, obviously being green, I'm like, oh, you know what, like, oh, we just get a project manager and we can take this job on and take this job on, and it was just, we were just messing more stuff up faster. And so we went from 16 people down to 4 people within the matter.
This was when you were general contractor,
yeah,
right?
general
Okay.
contractor. And it was just really, it was really an identity issue for us as a company. Like, what do we really want to do? Because at the core of what I want to do, I want there to be excellence and pride and you know, quality in everything we do.
What's your niche?
Yeah, exactly. So you know, you know, I see the ability to. I'm leaning back too much.
We got that mustache needs to be on that mic.
Yeah. So you can move this around wherever you want, but you're saying some really good stuff that I don't want missed.
Yeah. No, I just think it comes down to really identifying what you want. And so I really took a step back. Me and my wife, just a lot of talking and a lot of back and forth about what we should be doing, what I wanted to do. And I kind of came to the point that it was like, you know, really, I started looking at, okay, well, when I'm 60, what do I want to be doing? And it was just like, you know what, I want to be doing stuff in the shop. Yeah. And that was what came, that was like the end all be all. So then that ended up starting to navigate how, you know, that started to navigate how we were going to, you know, build the company. So we went from that 16 down to 4, you know, the four key guys that I had from the beginning. And it was a real painful time. I mean, a lot of just like struggle, a lot of hard conversations with guys that I wanted to keep but couldn't. And
so were you using your contracting business as a means to an end, like the shop was the end goal, or you just hadn't realized where you wanted to be at that point?
I just hadn't realized what what ultimately we wanted to do.
So you figured out what you wanted to do by doing what you didn't want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I just heard a quote yesterday.
That's a better soundbite right there.
I just heard a quote yesterday, and it was
don't botch it.
There's
a lot of people
don't butcher it. All these people want to hear it.
Look it up, right?
You were just ready to just
I was
butcher
ready.
that.
Look at everyone's looking like,
it was
what's he gonna
something
say?
like that.
It was so.
Was it a fortune
good.
cookie?
It was. No. And so this is from a book I was reading. Clarity about what matters provides clarity about what does not matter.
Basically
that,
what
yeah.
I said, but reverse.
Yeah.
And just sounds way more intelligent.
Yeah. So,
Thanks for looking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been rough if I just winged it.
It's
So.
clear visions make something like that.
But no, it's true. I mean, one of the things I learned through that process was that your no's are usually more important than your yeses.
All day.
Because there's going to be opportunities there continually.
So
And
hold on, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
every time that comes up in a conversation, no, everyone stops and says, but how do I say no?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. Think about it this way. Think about it if you said yes to everything, and then you have a dream job that you really want to come down the line that's like, hey, I want a brownstone. And you took on 3 jobs that were mediocre remodels at best.
Sure.
And then that brownstone comes down the line, then you can't handle it because you don't have your manpower and you're not going to extend yourself further out.
Absolutely.
Then it's opportunity. If you were to go back and go, if I had said no and I got the opportunity that I was dreaming about, put it in that kind of thing, that's where I think about it all the time. It's like,
and I'm on board with that.
That's how you say no.
But then I know the response to that. It's like, well, what if that brownstone never shows up?
That's going to be the difficult part for people, because you're basically attempting to have faith in something where it's like, well,
Right.
this may or may not happen. I think that what a
we
lot
all
of
make it happen, though.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's the thing. We're
You're making
shaping
it
what's
happen.
happening.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not necessarily like, hey, because I think that the perception of that may be, hey, don't take jobs and something's going to land in your lap. No, don't take jobs you don't want and make something happen.
Yes.
Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you're going to say no to this job in a brownstone. It's going to land, just fall in your lap. No, don't take those other jobs and then leave your schedule open and make something fit your schedule.
Right. I mean, you it's a struggle, and you talk about it. You went from 16 down to 4 while you were perfecting it, and what you were doing, whether it was your plan or not, but you were trying to figure out your niche,
Yeah.
but also you were saying no to so many things because you knew in your heart that wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah.
And if it may be painful, it may take a while, but you're gonna shape what you want to do.
Yeah.
Which leads you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, and so one of the things that, I mean, one of the places I got to is, you know, I would look at a job, you know, you take on a job because either you want to keep your guys busy or, you know, you're just worried that the work's not going to be there. And it came down to the point that, like, you know, I would take on a job and we would eventually pay to do that job. Like, you know, when you run the numbers on it, it's like, oh, cool, like I paid you to renovate your bathroom.
Right.
It's such a common thread in these podcasts.
And it's, well, and it's just goofy. Like, if you think about it, it'd be better to turn down that job and even if you don't have work, better yourself to the place to be positioned to take that next job.
Right.
Correct.
And when I walked away from GC work, we had some of the, within the next month, it was like really like a true test. It was like some of the best GC jobs offered to us that we've ever got. I got a designer we'd done a bunch of work with, and she brought me a job where they were combining 3 apartments on the 50th floor at 2 Liberty Place in Philadelphia into 2 apartments. And it would have been, you know, a massive job for us.
And you said no.
And I said no to it. And it was just like, you know, it really was just like, do I want to do this or not? Do I believe in this or not? Am I really gonna? And my guys were like what? Like, you said no to that? And it's like, what are we trying to become? Because we can't do that and be excellent in the shop at the same time. We really can't, you know. I mean, at least not the way we're structured now. Maybe in the future we could go back into that market, but not with the structure we have now. So really identifying what we really wanted has been really, really beneficial for us to really kind of narrow our focus and be able to increase that quality and produce a better product overall.
So what are you doing now?
So, you know, we are a architectural millwork and metalwork company. So all we do is fabricate custom millwork, custom metalwork in our shop. I got 6 guys right now. Just hired our metal guy full time. Just setting up our metal division, starting to fit that out a lot better.
Job site signs.
Job site signs, all kinds of stuff.
I need 6.
Yeah. Lots of custom job site signs.
That's your specialty.
Yeah.
Advertising right now. Contractor, job site signs.
Dude, it's going to be lit.
Lit. Hashtag AF.
Yeah.
And soundbite.
Yeah. Yes. Man.
So are you working primarily directly with clients?
Architects,
designers?
So, I mean, one of the things that I did that I think was beneficial when I started the company is, you know, I kind of identified the type of people I wanted to work with, the clientele I wanted to work with, and I just tried to figure out, like, go right for them. So when we started doing the architectural millwork and metalwork, I identified different architects and designers, and I literally just would go. I would call them. I would set up meetings with them.
How were you identifying them? Magazines? Other jobs?
Other jobs that I've seen them on,
Okay.
or other jobs that they've done. You know, I would go out of my way. Like, I would narrow my focus to like a top 3 and be like, hey, I need to do a job for these guys. I need to figure out a way to connect with them somehow. So, you know,
Walk us through that.
Yeah.
You told me a story about how you dropped off samples and stuff.
Yeah, so there's a real nice firm that we wanted to do some work with. We kind of did a little bit of work on the fringes. We built one piece for a project that they designed, and their stuff is just amazing. And so I put together a full book, like a leather bound brass with brass inlay, you know, all types of crazy, you know, walnut. And all, you know, just a really ridiculous portfolio, and I built it just for them. You know, as far as they know, I got, you know, that's all that I got is that portfolio. But I only made one of them for them. I got a bunch of high-res pictures printed of all of our work. I set up a meeting with like 10 of their designers, and I went up there and I just brought up a bunch of samples, and I brought up this book, and I laid out what we could do and the abilities that we had, and you know, it really did what I could do to kind of present myself and the potential of what we could do for them. And so I tried to be really in manners like that, really strategic and really specific about how to present and represent and go after the clients that I wanted, instead of just kind of taking what would trickle in.
So they just took your call?
Well, again, because I had that kind of fringe relationship.
Yeah.
I executed one piece. So like right
so
now,
they knew who you were.
Yeah. We've been doing a ton of work for a coffee shop, a local coffee company in Philadelphia, Saxby's, and they do a lot of really cool stuff. All of their cafes are individually designed, custom designed. They put a lot of effort and energy into making a really unique space.
Except for the one in Haddonfield.
Well, that was like,
wow.
It was
the only one I've ever been to. I was like, why are you doing? I was like, why are you doing
the bottom dropped out.
Saxby's but the one I've ever been to?
That was like one of the original ones. They do need to update that one. But for them, I built one piece for them. I built one like tiny little table. And I just went to their project manager at the time, and I was like, hey, like, can we, give us a shot at another table? Like, we'll meet you where you need to be as far as your numbers are concerned. And it was just really just finding ways to get those small entry points, that kind of like
grow that relationship.
Yeah, if you've had any type of, I've had people that I've worked with. Hey, can you introduce me to so and so? Like, can you make an introduction? Any type of small wedge that you can get in there, get your foot in the door, and then just, it doesn't have to be overnight you get the huge job, but try to capitalize on it in some way that would, marginally larger than the project before. And we've had a lot of success as far as growing that out, being able to take on more jobs from them, more projects from them, but being very specific about the type of work that we want. I mean, we turned down a good bit of work. At this point, a lot of stuff comes across our desk that is just not in the wheelhouse of what we do. It's not, and another thing that I see a lot is like, what work you do is what work you perpetuate. So if I were to take on a bunch of like laminate cubbies for an office complex, well, that's what people are going to see, and that's what people are going to give me.
Yeah, people hire you for what the work you put out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, where we always say that we overbuilt everything in the beginning of our careers to basically be able to do that work. Like, I built a lot of stuff that nobody paid me for because that's what I want to be doing. It's like, if I don't do this and eat these costs, I'm going to be putting out work that they paid me for, which isn't what I want to be doing.
And that's painful.
Yeah.
And I think despite how many times, Tyler, you talk about that, people still don't understand that's reality. I mean, you overinvest in that project. I mean, I've done it, and I've photographed the hell out of projects just so we can build something better, promote something better, so the next time it's a client that reaches out to us saying, hey, I saw what you built, I saw what you did, that's what I want, or I want better.
Yeah.
Exactly, because if not, you were building to what they initially paid you for, which, like, it seems like a crazy business model. I'm not saying to put yourself in the hole for it, but like, overbuild some things and get it photographed and put it out there, because that's what people are hiring you for. Like, they're not going to come to Nick to be like, hey, I have a super traditional kitchen that Nick's at the forefront of like a more conservative, like, urban lifestyle that he's building these condos and everything else. That's what they're going to keep coming to him for, and that's what the designers are going to reach out to him for, which I think is really important. But also, so Jeremy, what we were speaking about before, this is where your company is now, and you're working with a lot of architecture firms, and you're doing a fair amount of commercial work. That's not where you want to be long term. You do want some of that market, but you also have other goals, right?
Yeah, I mean, so part of making this shift, a lot of the stuff that we kept on getting was in the commercial realm. We do a lot of hospitality spaces, so restaurants and hotels, lobbies and stuff like that, which I love. I love that type of work because, when people are fitting those spaces out, they want them to look amazing. They need to be showpieces.
And there's a lot of involvement. Like the architect those are the spaces that they spend the money on design.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to build a high rise or an office building or something. Everything else is going to be bare bones and vinyl cove base and all, steel knockdown jams and
but
stuff
you walk
like that.
In that lobby.
But the lobby's got to be on point. So that's the kind of stuff that we've narrowed our focus on. But at this point, I do miss from getting the GC portion of it, I miss that interaction with the homeowner where you're and you do commercial work, it's an asset to a company, but when you do something in somebody's house, you build a piece for them, or you do their kitchen or their bathroom, and you just absolutely crush it. Like, that changes the way they live, and the appreciation that they have for that. So I do miss that. I would love to get, I'm trying to find ways to start shifting us back, so that we're, probably what we do is about 80% commercial right now. So I want to try to shift, a little bit more center, doing some more residential projects.
Start with job site signs.
Job sites.
That's where it all starts.
That's where I want to, really want to start to expand that market, job site sign market.
So we are at the Higher Elements booth for AW Hastings with Jeremy Cottingham Limited. I tripped over that.
That's a mouthful.
I would have struggled. You did better than me.
And so, what's the next step? Hiring more people?
So hold on, can we take a step back?
No. We're moving forward
Yeah.
at this point.
Well, you talked about how many, you hired so many
past is
people,
the past.
and then you hired 6 people. Like, who's in the office? Are they all cutting metal? What's going on? Give us a little bit of that, because I think there's probably guys out there that want to shape the same model or have this, are very close. And
so when we grew out, we had a project manager and we had an office manager. I think one of the biggest problems with hiring those type of people in any phase is if you don't have the infrastructure in place, the structure in place for them to operate in. I mean, they need parameters for them to execute in, and if you don't have that structure in place, then they're kind of lost. And so we were investing in people, but we didn't first invest in structure.
did you have like a business plan?
Like a broad business plan. Not I've started writing one probably like 10 times, and like core values.
That's about right.
Yeah.
I'd
say the same thing.
Yeah, I have it like written out.
It's in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a
It's
business
in my
plan.
head.
Succeed, be successful.
Yeah. So I've started writing them out a handful of times. Again, knowing like the direction that I wanted to go in, and I would say probably one of the more beneficial things, like if I were to start new, would be to really spend the time to clarify that. And I think that could cut years out of failure out of a pattern if somebody's getting into this new or just starting. Is the last thing that you think is you think that you need to like go out and get this job, or like you need to be busy. It's like, you know what, the work is there, the jobs are there, the all of that is gonna come, but just making sure that you set yourself up better, and that's like the last thing on your mind that you want to do. You're like, I gotta get
processes and efficiencies aren't gonna fall in your lap.
No.
It's just you gotta
you have to create the infrastructure, which is really hard. The reason why I think it's so important to get that as much in place as possible in the beginning, because once you get going, like you don't have to. You bought a truck, and how did you ever fit out the interior before you sold it?
No.
It's like you don't have time for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like get that stuff in place
But
prior to.
Not only that, but for me, looking back, it's just, even though I didn't have things set in place ahead of time, just tracking it.
Yeah.
Just track it, and then and collect that information and look at it and compare it to the next one.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you, I probably did 100 jobs before I even tracked the cost on one.
Totally.
And then it was like, all right, I should track this to see, am I profitable? Where are my deficiencies here?
Yeah.
And understanding that, and you say all that stuff has to be set up, and everyone's gonna be like, well, I need an income. Understood. You're not gonna pause life and then make a spreadsheet that runs your business. You just put it in place.
Yeah.
Collect the information. Look at it.
But understanding that, like, you know what, you think, and it, some things you just have to learn the lesson on. But you think that you need to go get that job, but what happens is when you don't have that process in place, you're paying for that job.
Right. So instead of making $0, you're making negative.
Exactly.
I'm going to put this one to bed and just say, you think it's hard to create the process and that stuff now.
Yeah.
Try fixing it.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's good. It's going to go on for years.
Yep.
When you could have taken an hour a week for the next 2 months to, put it all on paper and then review it with your team.
Yep.
you let it go and you get the big jobs and you're trying to make the numbers work and you don't have process in place.
Right.
And there's drama.
You have a stack of you have 0 papers when you start. You can set up then, or
Yeah.
you can have a stack of
Yeah.
paper. It's like, I got to collect this and set up something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the problems that a lot of people face is, looking at the industry in general, a lot of the guys that are into this, that do construction, or gals that are doing construction, they're good with their hands. They got into it because they wanted to create something. They want to physically build something, and that's the way that their mind is bent. So to take a step back
and that's what you're comfortable with. That's what you enjoy.
Yep.
That's what you're gonna basically gravitate towards.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like, you know what, I'm not gonna go into that. I'm gonna do books.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not. You're gonna find yourself making sawdust
Yeah.
over anything else.
But understanding that if you're able to manage that other side of it first, then you can enjoy the part that you want better.
it gives you more time for that.
Yep. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And it's completely counter to what you
Preaching.
would want to do.
Preaching.
Well, I think it's counterintuitive to what you want to do too, because most of us are starting this with a hands-on approach and
Yeah.
know nothing about business, and we learn about the business
Yeah.
end because after everyone's like, oh, you start making money 5 to 7 years. It's because you don't know what the hell you're doing, and it takes you 5 to 7 years to realize you're not making any
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
You're chasing work. And
Yeah.
you're not chasing the books.
Yeah.
Like when we had Ken Alger on the podcast, and he talked about how he wants to be in the field. He doesn't want to run a business. So he set time aside. He put systems in place. He has people that estimate, that run the office, and he goes out on site, puts a tool belt on, and works all day.
Yeah.
And he owns a business, and that's a decision you need to choose that path.
Yeah.
Like it's like everything. That's like Nick and I talk about all the time. It's like next time you go do a quote, just when you do that step, write it down.
Yeah.
And write down that process, and then you can refine it later. But if you never write that down, let's say you get sick, what happens to the company?
Yeah.
Like meaning you're in the hospital sick.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you don't
What,
have
someone
stuff
else-
in place, yeah.
Someone else goes out and bids a job with your shirt on, and it's not you. It's nothing to do with your name. The processes aren't there. It's literally all brand new from
Yeah.
scratch. And same with the books.
Yeah.
We had people where, hey, someone got sick or someone had a funeral and they had to go somewhere, couldn't even access QuickBooks.
Yeah. Yeah. This goes back to when I had that crisis where it was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing in this company? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? I looked at the long term. So I was like, you know what do I want to be doing when I'm 60? And my vision for me being 60, 65, I want to roll up in my shop like 10:30. Everybody's mad I'm there. Pour myself a cup of coffee.
Killer stash.
Walk
Killer
around the
stash.
floor. Just mess up a bunch of projects on people's tables. Everyone's like, damn it.
Dude, I'm already doing that.
Well, I'm already doing that, but then I want to be able to just stroll out with no like ramifications and being like, new guys like, who's that?
Dude, my goal is to have everything in place. So if I want to go in and put in like a chevron floor,
Yeah.
I want to be doing what Tom Silva's doing on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
Just super casual. Like
Yeah.
it's every day. You know what? Today I will wear the belt.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm not.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I could be.
It's the freedom. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I think a lot behind. Not even in the construction industry in general. When you talk about success, it's having the freedom to do what you
Yeah.
want. Whether that means travel the world, whether that means work 1 day a week, whether that means work 7 days a week, or whether it means you wake up and decide I'm going to wear the belt or I'm not going to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
But you
or I'm
don't
gonna
think
do it in
that
the
there's
office.
certain point where when you become the boss, that you actually have to step away from doing the work and you have to do all the bills and do all the headaches? Like I think there's that.
There's
there's that middle
that's a step.
spot. Yeah, it's a step, which I'm just trying to identify.
I don't
that
thi-
it's a step, and you don't have to stay there.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think. I mean, I think I did too much in the office, and I tried to manage too much. Where it was like it would have made more sense to put the system in place and hire someone and help me with that, and someone that could solely focus on that. So I could solely focus on right now it's sales and networking to build our business.
You 4 hours of QuickBooks is probably your bookkeeper's half hour.
yeah.
Oh, easy.
You're like,
Yeah.
like,
I was like,
Where's the shortcut?
I was like, is this a PO or an invoice or?
Just get out of the way. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree.
Just
I
leave.
mean, but
Just
figure,
leave.
putting people in positions to be successful. I mean, that's why there's people that are bookkeepers,
Yeah.
that are office admin. I'm not either of those. I'm not good at either of
Yeah.
those.
So that's perfect. What besides the need to fill that spot, so you get out of the office, how'd you make the numbers work to be able to bring somebody in for having a salary? Was it part-time? What was your approach to bringing in a bookkeeper for your company?
Because I was watching myself waste a day here, a day there, week to week.
So beyond that, the number part of it, like having that person.
Honestly, I didn't. It wasn't about the numbers.
It's in his head.
I mean, I'm being totally honest.
She's gonna figure that out.
Yeah, I'm being totally
What was
honest.
the numbers? Yeah.
I looked at it. I'm like, listen, I should be selling a job today, and that my time's worth doing that. So, hiring the 6 carpenter or the 5 carpenters in the last year, that's easy. I know I can look at them and say, you're good at carpentry, you're not good at carpentry. An office admin came to me. I'm like, I have no idea how to judge.
You look like you'd be good.
Yeah.
You look smart.
And
You brought a calculator, right?
I got lucky, and it was a girl I had met through, and she worked for another company in a very similar position.
She had glasses.
She did have glasses.
Yeah, that's key.
She did have glasses, or she does have
She
glasses.
had on a business suit.
She might even be here. But it was like she came to me and said, no, this is what I do. I'm good at it. I like spreadsheets. I can do this. I can do that. And I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm doing work. I'm like, wait, can you do this? And she's like, yep. I'm like, what about this?
Yeah.
And it was just, all right, now I can shuttle the stuff that is a nuisance to me because it takes me too long to understand it and focus on what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Is she full time?
She's transitioning from another job, so part-time right now.
Good.
It'll be just like when I hired Ken. I said, Ken, it might be part-time, and then it was like 55 hours. And he's like, are you sure we're doing part-time? I'm like, I thought I was, but no.
I think
I wasn't clear.
Yeah. When I said part-time, I meant like part of your week.
Part of your life.
Part of your
the
life.
most of the part of your life.
I think one of the things that I've probably grown the most in over the last few years is, and even seeing the IG community and connecting with other, high quality craftsmen is, I think when you have pride and you have quality at the core of who you are, right? You want to build stuff well. You think that you're the only one that can do it. And then that trickles into like everything you do. Like, well, I'm the only one that can like do my books and like run my numbers and like
Right.
But then as soon as you start seeing how well other people can execute, it's like being able to move beyond yourself and being able to understand that there's other people, understanding your personality, understanding the position you should be in, and understanding that it's better to just find good people and put them in the right places because it makes your life easier.
Yeah, I wish I remember the title of the book, but I remember reading a book and they talked about this guy had a company and he was afraid to hire someone for his office because all his dark secrets about, he wasn't always in the positive, and he did hit the red a couple times. All that secret financial stuff that no one wants to talk about.
Digging up dead bodies.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't believe I'm going to trust this person.
Yeah.
And tell them, and they're going to see my bank statements and they're going to see it. But it really, when he puts it in place and he's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I'm not worrying about it. Now there is money in the bank because someone's paying attention to it and saying, hey, we have to invoice for this job.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. It's like, I got to sit down and now write invoices.
Yeah.
It's like, I know we're progressing, but I don't have that system down. I'm selling a job. I'm out, I'm networking. I'm sitting here on a podcast. But it's just getting beyond that being scared.
Yeah.
And not knowing, how to hire an admin or how to hire someone in the office. I think getting beyond that and realizing that, it's going to be the same thing. It's part-time, but I know the moment I see all these positives coming out of it, it's just going to be like, hey, here's 40 hours.
Yeah. Well, and the right people pay for themselves.
Right.
That's the long and
all
short of
day.
it.
Yeah.
You get the right people in the right place, they pay for themselves.
You should write a book. You have a lot of good quotes. Maybe the quote book.
I'll just do a quote book. Yeah.
Cottingham quotes.
Yeah, Cottingham quotes for your bathroom time.
Limited.
Yeah.
Oh, quote signs. Not to be confused with quotation marks.
Yeah,
Or job site signs.
or job site signs. Yeah.
No, it's the same
Yeah,
principle.
Yeah. Quote
Yeah,
signs for your front
That'd be
yard.
nice.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
All right.
So
I think there's a market.
Let me write that down.
I got it.
You make it
Okay.
a quote.
Oh man.
So before Johnny jumped backwards,
Yeah.
we were going to
My
jump
bad.
forward
Oh man.
to your next
Are we jumping or stepping?
stepping, running.
Yeah, well, I'd rather
Taking a
take
rocket
a
ship.
step. Yeah.
That's Nick's motto. Rocket ship.
Yeah.
Rocket ship. Did
Yeah, I
I
don't
forget
know.
anything? Probably.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I think one of the things that I've really been trying to do and focus on this year is just, again, understanding my personality and understanding how I operate and where I tend to put myself in problems. Is this year I've been really trying to kind of step back and just be like, you know what, let's get our systems just on point. Like let's get the right. So we just hired a guy doing operations. He's been amazing, creating clarity.
What's he doing?
So what he's doing is he's doing all the ordering. He's doing helping consolidate getting all the shop drawings done, all the finish samples approved.
We're making fun of Nick.
Nick's trying to steal him.
Oh, I was like, am I touching the microphone funny? Or?
Nick's writing down the job.
What's he doing?
Yeah.
What is his social?
He's writing down the job description, so...
Yeah. No, I mean, he coordinates with getting all the shop drawings done, all the approvals with the clients, all the finish samples done, all those approvals signed off. Right now we're actually building out a full interface. We're going completely paperless in our shop for everything. All the guys are getting tablets. They're going to have full access to all the drawings, full access to all the CAD files. So if they need to pull measurements off a drawing that doesn't have measurements on it, they can just go on the CAD file and say, oh, that's 2 3/4. So we're building out a lot of back end stuff just to kind of create a framework that we can have more clarity, and giving my guys the tools to just execute well and taking a bunch of headaches off of their plate. So he's really been good at just kind of taking all of the loose ends and just kind of putting it through the meat grinder and just getting
that could be a sign.
Yeah,
could be
loose ends through the meat grinder, front lawn.
I mean,
I'm doing billboard, straight billboard.
You're basically giving, when they're asking for the tools, you're giving them and eliminating excuse. I don't want to say it's an excuse, but
it is.
They are. It's like, well, I can't do that because I don't have the measurement. Here you go.
Yeah.
And they're like just eliminating the questions and the difficulties.
Yeah.
Set them up to succeed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. Like, we've also been flushing out our shop, so there's been like a lot of residual GC stuff in our shop. So we've just been tearing it apart, getting rid of stuff, giving stuff away,
now
selling
it's in my shop.
Yeah, I gave a ton
What
of
are you
stuff
selling?
to Tyler.
Now it's sitting in the corner of my shop.
Yeah.
You have a time saver I can buy?
I don't. So, so just really streamlining. That's what my goal is for this year, is just really narrowing our focus even more, refining the process, because I don't want to start accelerating again without having the right tools in place.
What's your worries right now? Like, what's your flags that if something's not going right, you got to pump the brakes again?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that we continue to struggle with is our scheduling. And like, I don't contract jobs like real far out because I don't feel confident in executing on our schedule going forward. So I think one of the biggest things that we keep on trying to monitor a lot is like, hey, when we say we're going to be done on this date and deliver, is we're doing that. And when we're starting to get off of those dates, even if it's by a day or 2 day or 3 day or a week, it's like, yo, we need to step back. What are we doing wrong? Why are we evaluating this wrong? Why are we communicating? Where's the road bump? Like, right. where are we?
Because I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints in construction in general is schedule.
Yeah.
So clientele, I mean, if you miss a schedule, that could be determining whether or not you'll ever work with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's something that we struggle with too.
Yeah.
But going back to what we talked about in the beginning, is sitting down with your guys and understanding what their thought is.
And tracking what you've done in the past.
Right.
I think more so for Jeremy too, because unless the job scope is changing, like, sure, they could be adding some to the scope, but I think for him, it's easier to manage schedule. Not necessarily easier, but you're not on the site opening up things where it's like, well, while you're here, let's do this, or while you're here, let's do that. So like, you should be able to refine your schedule to be on point. Like, this kitchen's going to take us this long to deliver, or this lobby, whatever we have to put into that, and to monitor that and to kind of nail down the science of that, rather than being on site where it's like, well, we have water in the basement. We're just, let's get an engineer in and then wait on them and then resubmit permits for an as-built and everything else. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is what we've tried to do is just create margin. Like, when we're putting our schedules together and giving it, it's not like, hey, it's going to be done on Tuesday, we're going to deliver on Wednesday. It's like, hey, we think we're going to be done on Tuesday, we're going to tell them we're delivering on Friday. And just do, I mean, 99% of the time, unless somebody has a hard date for something, people are fine with the dates that you give them as long as you don't change them.
And as humans, we tend to be more optimistic.
Oh yeah.
So if you if you build that into, if you're building we'll call it a buffer in the schedule, that you have some time where it's, instead of telling the client what they want to hear, it's just like, hey, my date's this.
Yeah.
And they accept that early on, rather than saying, yeah, I'll hit your date, and then when you get to it, or a week before or the day of, and say, hey, we're actually a week late.
Yeah.
They're way more pissed.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've already committed to it.
Yeah. I think it's that like internal fight you have in your head.
Yeah.
Where you want to like make the client happy.
Or it's like, I won't get the job unless I say what they want.
Yeah. You just try to make someone happy. In the end, it's better to deal with that stuff up front.
Absolutely.
And then deal with it on the tail end, because that's typically how it always happens.
Yeah.
On the tail end, there ends up being a problem on the tail end, and then you're trying to backtrack.
Or
the sheet came in late, and then that's why and it's like.
Or best case, you deliver early.
Yeah.
And then you look like a superhero.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you could charge for early delivery.
I think I'm thinking about what you said before about how you're not comfortable scheduling work further out because you don't know what you can execute now, and you're focusing on that execution and tracking it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the right way to take those steps.
Yeah.
A lot of guys will keep having the work come in, and the pressure of all that work building up doesn't give you the time to focus on the work that you're doing right now and scheduling it. But then once you have that buttoned up, you could be bidding out stuff for a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then upping your prices because you're booked that long.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that, and that's where, if you talk about like, what our next step is, what we're going towards, it's like, if we can get those systems in place, if we can get that infrastructure in place, then that gives us the ability to move forward, to book out further, to move the process forward.
As John and Nick are just eating mints.
I started getting microphone breath.
From who?
Microphone
I don't even know what
I think
that
that's
is.
a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's
It's
a
not?
serious medical condition.
What is it?
When your mouth tastes like the microphone,
I've never tasted a microphone.
put your mouth on it.
No. Your mouth was probably
we
on this
are
one
doing
already.
audio live
There-
over the speakers, so this isn't just amongst us anymore.
Higher
Sure.
Elements has mints.
Yeah.
To alleviate microphone breath. Rob. Maybe he knows what it is. I think that's all good info, and I think especially for somebody who's starting out, I think that a lot of what you're saying, not that it's impossible, but I think a lot of it is learning through trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of your development and structuring and adaptation of your systems is through something not working. But I think at least being conscientious of having those systems or developing them or implementing them from day one is huge. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to start a business unless you've had experience before. But I don't think you're going to start a business and be like, I want to put these systems in place, because like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think to just be conscientious of getting systems in place from day one will be huge for a lot of guys just starting out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's not just about the execution of the work.
Yeah.
Also, don't be afraid to, we always say, but don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there willing to share their system or their approach or their spreadsheet or whatever, and just try to learn from that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of, systems and spreadsheets I've looked at that other people use, and I've picked and choose, parts of it that I like.
My contract's written from AFT. In my P&S docs.
Then mine is too, because I think I use yours.
and then my P&S docs, the blueprint started as a Word doc from Miranda from
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you have the ability, like if I was starting a business, which we just did, tomorrow.
Vintage builders.
Yeah, it would be, you have all the resources. Like you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I got a question on, what are you guys doing for finishes? Or what's the technique on this? From technique to processes to execution to vendors.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy DM me yesterday who was like, hey, you know about the soft wood, whatever, export tariff tax that's going on it? And blah, blah, we're going back and forth. And he realizes that he's just getting hammered from his vendor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll give you my guy. Here's the connection.
Right.
That was a 20-minute exchange that could have cost him X amount of money over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Just by just communicating and going, hey, you hear about this?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should also just talk to the guys that are working for other builders and other suppliers and fit up shops like you, and like those kids, those guys that have been doing it for 10 years, they can go off on their own if they want to.
Yeah.
Because you have a huge amount of resource to you. It's not just in a magazine; it's all right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. Is going back to IG too, is like being able to have that community, or just even finding local guys. One of the things that I've done multiple times is just find people that you would want to go to their level. You want to become what they're doing, and just talk to them. Just talk to them. Buy them lunch. Go. Just ask them. Like, hey,
probably more than
we
willing
chat?
to talk.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't had anyone turn me down ever. It may be accommodating to their schedule, be accommodating to them. Offer to buy them lunch or something. But talk to them. Be like, hey, I want to take 15 minutes of your time and just have some questions.
But that's even like Benny always thinks I'm crazy when you see a really cool house that's being built. Just stop in and ask for the GC.
Yeah,
I still
and
think
walk
you're
it.
crazy.
Dude, it's people. They will show. They want to brag. They
Yeah.
want to show off
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
And why not take advantage of
Yeah.
it? I want to see cool stuff. I want to see cool techniques. If I walk through that house and pick up 2 things,
Yeah.
I'm a better builder for it.
Yeah. Well, that's like the ultimate. You've succeeded in some way that somebody wants to
learn from you.
emulate you
Yeah.
or to learn from you. So most people, they love it. They'll take the time to share some information or some knowledge. So it's free. It's free to have a conversation with someone.
So there's at the Higher Elements booth, there's this kind of a survey you put if you're happy, unhappy, exploring options with your job.
I was wondering why you guys are all
And NS
laughing.
Builders crew just showed up and they're all
Doubtful, ready to explore, neutral, unhappy. That's pretty amazing.
Ready to explore. Oh man.
Oh, boy.
Dropped it in.
It's all right. Benny said the same thing. He's replacing you.
you guys will swap companies. Who high fives anymore?
NS
What just
Builders,
happened?
Was that Mike?
That's NS
Yeah,
Builders
what just
high five.
happened?
NS.
There's a lot of high fives in our
Tom,
shop.
where's your shirt?
It's legit.
It is very warm.
All right, guys.
This was awesome.
Dude, this is
So
an
we
awesome
are
podcast.
at the Higher
You were
Elements.
nervous?
Yeah, you settled
killed
in
it,
nicely,
man.
man.
Totally didn't.
Yeah,
even
you would
see my
definitely like
vocal
stutter.
Settled in
Exercising
nicely.
And
Pro.
Solid. We'll have you on again.
sounds good. Sounds good.
So we are at the Higher Elements by A.W. Hastings, the recruiting network booth at the top of the escalator at JLCLive 2018 with Jeremy Cottingham, Cottingham Limited. Boom.
Boom.
Dude, just shut the mic off of him.
Yeah.
So how else can we find you?
So I'm on
Other
IG.
than at the club.
Yeah.
at Del Club.
Duck Club. I'm on IG. Our handle's Cottingham Limited. So, and someday we'll get our act together, get our website up.
I'm right with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So we've started it
We're all
like 10
working,
times.
and I'm doing air quotes right now,
Yeah.
working on
Yeah.
our website.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
inevitable.
You guys are both fine, so
It's
shut up.
It's along
No,
with,
mine's still under construction.
You guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's with my business plan.
Yeah.
It's right in that same
It's in my head.
It's in that manila folder that I wrote business
Yeah.
plan on.
Yeah. Yeah, check us out on
I
IG
can't find
for
it
sure.
anymore.
No. Oh, that's my admin.
Hey, we haven't done this in a while, but who are you crushing on social media? Like when you wake up, besides Tyler.
Tyler's out.
Tyler's out.
Tyler's
Yeah,
definitely
sorry.
out.
I mean, probably Steve then. Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah, it's a good too.
That's Tyler point 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Steve posts anything
Steve's
work related.
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I love just seeing the full spectrum. I'm always checking out JCH,
Oh yeah.
and I'm always checking out Matthew Chase. So
Dude,
always
Those are 2
I'm-
killer ones.
Yeah.
I'm always
top notch.
I'm always on them, looking at their stories. I keep on trying to get John from JCH to just do more, like more than just the stories, more like video content
YouTube,
that
yeah.
stays around for longer than 24 hours.
Yeah,
So,
if you guys aren't following JCH or Matthew Chase, you have to.
yeah,
They contribute a ton of knowledge.
Yeah.
And they both, I mean, I talk to Chase all the time, and it's
Yeah.
like I send him a message, and I'll get 15 video messages back explaining the process. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
I got to
yeah.
wait till I get home now to watch these,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
thank you.
yeah. I just connected with him the other day. Just shot him a DM about some questions. So
He's super
Yeah.
super cool.
I'll
Yeah.
be seeing him next month.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
At the
Awesome.
club.
At the club.
At the club.
All right. You can find us at
The club.
no, not the club.
Not the club. At
The dot Modern Craftsman on Instagram. DM us.
themoderncraftsman.org. You can email us at info@themoderncraftsman.org. We are on all of the podcast channels, including Amazon Alexa. A review would be
Spotify.
All
of them.
All of them, yeah. Pretty much.
But head over to iTunes.
Please leave us a review. It helps us grow. It helps us stay relevant, and it provides much needed feedback. So,
Could be as easy as a 5-star. Hit the button.
and as Johnny used to say, it helps shape.
Yes.
You guys shape.
You guys shape the podcast.
You guys shape the podcast. Over and out.
Thanks for listening.